Hello, everyone. My name is JD Caldwell, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And this week, we have on Mr.
You're all wrong side, man.
Well, what, that way, it's you. Announce
Okay.
yourself. There you go.
It's Marvin Wynn from the Edge and Comics Nerd.
All right, cool. And this week, we're back to talking to a retailer, which I think is awesome because we haven't spoken to one. It's been a minute, right, Marv? It's been a few months?
It's been like, 2 or 3 months since we did one of these.
2 or 3 months, exactly. So, it's good to get back to talking to our retailer friends because, as indie creators, we know what's going on with us, but it's always good to get that feedback from the person who's on those front lines, because we just need that information. But
Okay.
here we are. Ralph, how are you? Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ralph DiBernardo. I own Jetpack Comics and Games in Rochester, New Hampshire.
All right. Very nice, very nice. So, Ralph, just real quick, how long have you been in business?
I've literally been in the comic book industry since I was 10 years old.
Ooh, nice.
My dad brought home comic books to me when I was 6, 7 years old. A little while later, I understood the value in comic books. I enjoyed it so much that probably in junior high school, I started writing for local collectibles magazines about comic books. It was kind of like that guy that wrote for Rolling Stone magazine when he was 16. Like, nobody knew I was a little kid doing it.
Right. All right, cool. Like Jim Shooter, but God rest his soul.
Oh,
breaking in at 13.
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very nice. Marvin.
Yes, sir.
You got a question?
Oh, question.
Yeah, there you go.
So, we'll jump over just the indie comic book question, and I'm going to get right into the nit grit about distribution.
Sounds good.
So you've got a few options out there, and I've seen a few stores say they're not going to order from Diamond anymore. Or where are you at with your distribution options?
Diamond has been my distributor forever. I have tons of respect for them. It's unfortunate the path that they went down. I think if people had been paying attention, they could have seen this coming a long time ago, probably about the time COVID hit.
Yeah.
And they couldn't pay all their vendors at the time. Like that was a warning sign for anybody. On my end, I've never had them in debt to me, so I never had to worry about it. I only had to pay them money. I love people that work there. It sucks. It sucks for all of us. Everybody always wanted another choice, but then to have them disappear and to lose Previews Magazine and Pullbox and Comic Suite, like it's just like a big punch in the face all at once.
Right. So
did I answer your question?
Yeah. So what's your POS? What are you using?
I have what I like to call a cigar box that we put money in, and then we make change out of it.
Okay.
I don't have a POS system. We do it all by hand. It's easy. We've been doing it for 20 years this way. I'm sure a POS would make us more efficient, but I probably have over 1,000 long boxes of unsorted back issues in my basement.
Oof.
The idea of having to put all of this into a POS system is so daunting. I'll just keep doing it this way until somebody comes in and tells me I can't.
Right. So just to follow up on that one. So with the loss of the physical Diamond catalog, how do you reconcile that with your customers that come in the store if they want to do like orders or things like that?
Sure. We actually we lucked out because again we all saw it coming. We had just downloaded everybody's information out of Pullbox, and within 3 days of that, League of Comic Geeks started their Pullbox system, which was far superior to Diamond's. And it works. It worked for us. It works for our customers. And, so far it's very smooth.
Cool.
Cool. Now, are you currently using, like, obviously Diamond's been your longtime distributor. Are you working with any of the other distributors that are coming up? Like, let's say, I think Universal is taking over DC. You got Filbo distribution coming up. You have Lunar, right?
Sure.
You working with any of them?
We're with Lunar and Penguin.
Mhm.
I'm not looking to bring on any additional comic book distributors because I feel like they're just too new coming out of the gate. Like, I need to understand their process before I get involved with them. You know, I wish them all the best luck. I want everybody to be successful. We need that competition in the industry, but I can't just jump on board because somebody new is there.
Yeah. Has anyone reached out to you about any of the new startups? Like I know ICV2 is out there also, and there's another one out there. What's it called?
I haven't heard from anybody yet. We've been with Lunar for a long time, and the same with Penguin, and they really do satisfy all of our needs. You know, we do our manga direct through Simon & Schuster, and then we have a couple other book distributors we work with. So we're not missing out on anything. And we do still use Diamond. We're using them for reorders. Like, whatever we can source through them, we're still going to use them for. You know, even though it's new owners, I want them to be successful as well.
Right. Cool.
That's cool. Now, yeah, as you know, we're indie guys. How do you see everything affecting, like, independent publishers? You know, like from your perspective.
Sure. I see you guys having the hardest time of it, only because there's so much uncertainty out there right now. Like I can't figure out if I'm ever going to get fulfilled on my Dynamite product from Diamond or not. You know, those purchase orders still exist out there, and I want to satisfy my customers' needs, so I'm getting what I can to fill subs from Lunar, and then slowly picking off or adding extra product for the shelves. So in other words, I don't want to get buried with product 3 or 4 months from now as things start to stabilize in the industry. Right. So for indie guys, like I see you guys, the more distributors you're with, the more uncertainty I have of who's going to fill me when.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes some sense.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, I've been self-publishing since '92, right? So I've been doing it for a long time. And when I was first started, there was about 14 distributors at the time.
Okay.
So it was Diamond, Capital City, Friendly Franks, Comic Hawaii. There was a whole bunch of them. There was a huge list. And
you know what? Capital was a great distributor. I loved working with them.
Capital was awesome. And it seemed the industry was healthier at the time, but it was broken up in regions, right? And no one was exclusive.
Right. Yep.
Right. Like you know, it wasn't just DC at, you know, whatever company, Penguin Random. Oh no, they're at Lunar. So it's not just them at Lunar. They would be at all of them, right?
Right.
From your perspective, do you think that would be a better system where it's like no one's exclusive, or do you think the exclusivity maybe serves a better purpose?
Well, I guess the problem is because in the end the distributors are really just sales agents. It makes it problematic for the retail. Like if they had to buy the product and then resell it to us at a profit, then we would institute some type of a competition between them and to see who's going to give us the better deals, free shipping, or whatever happens. But because they end up exclusive at one spot, like we're only going to get Marvel from Penguin, I like the idea of one-stop shopping, but not having competition means I'm always going to pay that same price point. There's no reason for anybody to provide better service, and that's what's hurting right now in the industry is that customer service doesn't exist the way it did when there was competition.
Okay.
And like I said, that competition is important in this because it gives people that idea of doing better. So instead of you like not trying to innovate or do anything different, you just want to stay stagnant, which seems to be what happened with Diamond a little bit. They were the only game in town for so long that they became a little bit too big for their britches. I'll say.
I was just going to say that.
and didn't innovate. So what I noticed over that period of time, over like the last 7 years, when Comic Hub came around, that's when they started doing their pool box. So they waited till someone else did something that they could have been doing, and then implemented that into their system.
And didn't do it as well.
No.
Respectfully.
Yes.
Now, obviously, you're selling a bulk of your sales is Marvel and DC, I would imagine.
Sure.
But what percentage of your sales would you say are indie books? Dark, everything from Image, Dark Horse, and all the rest, outside of Marvel and DC.
I would say 25 to 30%.
Okay.
It's healthy, but I mean, honestly, Image really dominates that. Dark Horse does not have the sell through that they used to. But we're super indie friendly. So if there's a new number one and it only has to look passable for us to give it a try. Like I can't speak for what every one of my customers are going to enjoy, and I will give every book it a fair shot. But sometimes it just doesn't work out for everybody.
Right. I got you. Well, I mean, that's only fair. I mean, it doesn't. As an indie publisher, I've seen plenty of people just come in and come out, and we used to play a game at conventions where we would walk in, and you always see guys with number one issues, and it would be like, all right, well, when we come back next year, how many of them are going to have number two?
That is a very good point. Yep.
Right.
So
yeah,
at my store, we do not support speculators. Like, I don't want guys just coming in buying the first issue. Like, I want you to buy something you're going to enjoy, not something that you're looking at a financial future for, because it never works out. Like every guy out there that has an app that tells them what comic to buy, if you hit that one, it's great, and you'll make a little bit of money at it. And then you end up like half the customers I don't have anymore who invested in the first issues thinking they were going to make money at it. And then they just bail out on the whole industry altogether instead of picking those few things that they did enjoy and sticking with them.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like X-Men number one.
Which one? Or any of them?
Yeah,
the 90s one with Jim Lee and Claremont.
Yes. Yep.
The one that sold 1 million copies, but they probably printed like 20 million.
Absolutely. Yep.
I mean, listen, I still find those in dollar bins. So
all the covers. Like there were like 6 covers, and they had a chrome cover. I found that like for 50 cents before.
Right, and if you're buying them for $1, I've got a long box of them. At least I'll sell you.
Yep. I mean, pretty book. I still have my fold out. Right.
Remember
Yep.
You
pulled that out. Yeah.
Was it six pages that fold out? Something crazy, yeah.
I mean, listen, they were trying, at least.
I miss the old gimmicks.
Yeah.
I want more glow in the dark covers.
I like the chromiums. I really did. I like my chromiums. They were pretty. So here's something. As far as like indies go, if an independent publisher were to approach you with a product, right, whether it be new comic or whatever, would you prefer that book to be as a single issue, or people like to say the floppy, saddle stitched, or would you prefer a trade paperback from them? Like,
well, so the difference is like I'm either going to invest $2 in 3 to 10 copies of it, or I've got to make one $10 investment in one single volume, hoping that one of my customers will drop $20 on that single book. I understand that it works out financially better for an indie publisher to deal in trade paperbacks, but I need that consistent floppy sell-through to figure out what I'm going to need for the trade paperback when it drops. So, you put something new out, I buy 5 copies, I sell 3. Hopefully I keep that 3 issues going through the series. And then when the trade drops, I have a reason to stock the trade and the floppies because people have seen both or have seen the floppy on my shelf. Now there's a trade paperback because there are people that only read trades.
Right.
But if I have to invest $10 in every indie trade, that's, suddenly I'm at several $1,000s a month in product I don't know if I'm going to sell or not. I want to support every indie publisher, but I have a staff that needs to eat as well.
Right.
So I'm making that, finding that balance.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. What's funny is that's why Marvin and I started this show, to find out that kind of information. Because Marvin I know goes to retailers. I'm primarily Kickstarter at the moment. I've been Kickstarter the last 10 years. I think I've just been doing Kickstarters. Haven't really sold to any retailers. Once in a blue moon, there were like 1 or 2 retailers I've sold to, but the ROI just isn't there for me because I'm printing POD. So it's very expensive, right? So as opposed to when I was back in the day printing through Brenner and it was like 3,000, 5,000 book runs. So I'm thinking of getting back in and then going back, but that'll be offset. So yeah, it's interesting to me. Because I was thinking, I said maybe I just go trade, or do I go single issue, right? So thank you for that. That's valuable information because I think that's good for everyone. Here's another one for you. Do you think it's better for an indie creators to stick with the 24 to 32 page format at, let's say, $4.99? I know some have been going up to $5.99, or move up to a 48 page format and charge anywhere from $8.99 to $9.99?
I mean, at that price point, you're really, you're starting to come into the trade paperback price point anyway. I am more likely to take a chance on a book with a lower initial buy-in. So like, Bad Idea just did their book, is it Death Planet?
Yes.
That they offered very inexpensively for the first issue. Like we bought thousands of them just to give out a free comic book day or whatever. I will always go in heavier for a book that is less expensive than I will because in the end, I have to have the confidence of the sell-through for me to do it. Whereas if I'm spending less money, then I have a better places I can turn that product if it does not sell initially.
Okay, that's fair. More good info.
I hope I'm not bumming you out. Like,
no, not at all.
Not what I wanted to hear.
No. Listen, I want the truth.
Okay.
Right. I was like, it doesn't serve, I think, anyone to just like, oh yeah, let me just give you the answer. No, I well beyond that. I need to know the truth, right? Because in the end, success will only work, with facts. It's not gonna, if you're gonna have any level of success. I mean, it's nice to blow sunshine up somebody's butt, but facts are facts, right? I mean, those are the things that are going to bear out. All right. I'm sorry, Mark, because I listen, Ralph, I could just ask questions all night long and I'll just leave Marvin sitting there.
And I would hang up and answer them all.
You know how we do. Like you'll throw it to me, I'll throw it to you, and we go back and forth. So we were saying about like indie books. So if people were willing or interested in going direct and they wanted to contact you, what would be the best means to do that? Would sending an email with a PDF attachment saying, "Hey, take a look at my stuff." Call into the shop, not on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, on a Monday or Thursday or Friday, just like to chew it up and say, "Hey, I got this book coming out. We're not in Diamond Lunar. How would you deal with that?"
Okay, so giving us a phone call, like it's always great to hear from people, but it has no use in selling. Like, it's great to hear from people. You want to pitch me your stuff, but I really need to see it. So I get a PDF. I send it off to my staff. Well, first of all, I'm going to back up. I get the PDF, and I get a lot of PDFs, and a lot of them are very amateurish. And everybody needs to start somewhere. I get that, but you're asking me to invest money in what you're doing. So it has to land, and it has to be some semblance of professional. And I just can't tell you the amount of work that we get. That would be great if it was high school kids, but you want me to buy multiple copies of this and pitch it to people. I just can't do it. So quality work lands in my inbox. If I vet it, it goes to my staff, and then they determine, are we going to buy into it? Are we going to offer to take it on consignment? And there's so much of it out there. Like, a lot of it, we just bring in a consignment. We like to see some type of sales data. 10 years ago, I would have been against you telling me you sold a bunch of copies on Kickstarter. I've been like, no, those were my customers. Now I don't have them. But, modern times, I'm all for it. It doesn't matter, because my customers aren't buying everything on Kickstarter. It's kind of like the whole digital thing. Like, everybody all paranoid that digital comics are going to take over print media. And it's just not going to happen. People buy comic books because they want that tactile feel. They enjoy it. They want to put them in a bag and board. The people that don't are the ones buying digital. So same kind of idea. Quality lands. My staff looks at it. They vet it. Sometimes we buy into it. Sometimes we offer to do one on consignment. Our consignment fees aren't unreasonable. But when you're only buying 5 to 10 copies, somebody's got to pick up the shipping one way or another. Somebody's not making money. And I want the creators making money as much as I want the store to make money to support all of our bills.
Awesome. So you did bring up Kickstarter. So let's go on the other end of that. So a customer or a creator reaches out to you and says, "Hey, I've got a retailer tier on my Kickstarter." Have you ever backed any retailer tiers?
I have. So basically, if I've established a relationship with you, maybe I've hired you to do exclusive covers for me. Maybe you're a local guy who I've been working with for a while. I will always back their Kickstarter. If you have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, whatever, on Kickstarter, chances are I'm going to be involved, because that's a huge property in our area.
Mm-hmm.
Other people, if you're not a name creator and I don't know you and don't have a relationship, I will generally respectfully reply to you and tell you to reach out to me when you have the physical copies in hand, because there are a ton of indie Kickstarters out there.
Yes.
I can't support them all. And once in a while, one will just grab me. I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, this is super cool. I've got to bring this into the shop. My tastes are weird, so it usually doesn't work out for me. But I'm still supporting the people I want.
Right. And did you want to pop up? Was that Mary Yams?
Yeah. So, I don't. Marvin, do you want to explain it?
Sure. So a consignment is kind of like you're shipping the product to the retailer, but they're not paying up front. So it's paid on sale. So once it's sold, then you get paid. So you may have heard the term like a consignment shop, where you drop off clothing or other items at the store, and then you get a payment once the product sells.
Right. So for us, we calculate monthly. We calculate all our various consignments. We probably have 150 plus items on consignment from various, whether it's independent creators, people that make toys. Like we'll take just about anything on consignment, provided has some quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Now, as far as well, actually, let me pull this question up. So Daphne is asking, what does professional mean? Is it a comic book that looks mainstream adjacent aesthetically? And she also asks, what are the red flags in terms of quality you look for?
Boy, that's one of those. That's a tough question because, well, first of all, I don't want to call anybody out whose work I've looked at that didn't look professional.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, how would I define that? Well, there's nothing worse than getting something that you can tell is generated by AI. If your pencils are great, but your inker can't live up to what you've provided, that's a red flag. Coloring is always a huge issue for me. It seems like over the last few years, coloring has gotten really shortchanged on comics, and a lot of the stuff I get, I would rather see in black and white than, don't just give me 6 different colors in a comic book, because that's 1970s Marvel. Like we lived through that, and now we're looking for something better. But I can't define quality or professional other than to say, if I look at somebody's work and I'm say, why isn't this person drawing for Marvel or DC? That's one of those places that I go.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
If you can't draw feet, please don't send me.
All right.
I'm not naming names.
Yeah. I'm not even going to touch that one. He gets very sensitive. What's funny is one of my red flags when it comes down to that sort of thing is lettering.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this lettering is one of those things where it's just like, okay, that's where the.
Well, I mean, not just lettering, but misspelled words continuously.
Oh yeah.
And if you have more than one hyphen in one word bubble because you couldn't fit the entire word, you're missing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, cool. Here's something for you. So, I mean, I know you say you don't like to gear your clientele towards speculation, but do you carry alternative covers?
I do.
Okay.
How do I explain it? So with Marvel and DC, because there's so many covers they put out, I cover my pre-orders for all of them. And then for the most part, I'm 2 or 3 beyond. I base what I order on actual sell-through of product. So I generally keep a spreadsheet that's got 6 months worth of sales of a comic. I'll look for weird spikes, like if J. Scott Campbell does a cover, we'll sell a few more, or Scotty Young, we'll sell a few more, Alex Ross. So I'll watch for those spikes, but I can generally nail down what we're going to sell each month within 20%, that's ultimately my goal, is to never have more than 20% that I need. And then if I see something that I think people are going to be interested in, not for financial gain, but because it's a cool cover. Like I really like the Marvel, the window shade covers. If those ring a bell to you, they look like people were looking through blinds. I thought those were cool, so I bought a few extras of those for people. But generally, I'm not buying variant covers for speculation, only for people that appreciate them for what they are.
Gotcha. Did I freeze?
25 words in a balloon. I've seen that. honestly, I've seen that.
Yes.
I've seen someone take up almost an entire page with a word bubble balloon.
Right. To which I say, I didn't buy a novel. I bought a comic book. I want the combination.
Right. I mean, but that's one of the things that we talk about when we do like when we do panels, like the script from store to panel. And we talk about that sometimes you have to pull back that page and say that this is not going to fit. I have to rewrite the script. I've had to do it before when I got art back from the artist. And then I looked at it like, this is not going to fit. So I had to rewrite the script to fit the dialogue in that spot. And sometimes you're going to lose out on what you're trying to say. Sometimes it's a win for you. Yeah. And then sometimes you have to go back to the artist and say, hey, we have to add another page. We have to add another panel because I ran out of room for this.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So I letter my pages. I write the stories and I letter them. So it gives me that additional layer of editing. Right. So if my artist did something that, doesn't allow me to have that extra space, I'm like, all right, well, it's time to rework that sentence. Right?
Yep.
And you just go in and you just start chopping stuff out. All right. So, I mean, you're dealing on the front lines with the customers all the time. What types of covers do you see attracting your clientele? I mean, and when I say that, is like, would you think it's more traditional style covers, pen and ink with just regular colors, painted covers, a la Alex Ross, Joe Jusko, that sort of thing? Gimmicky covers, which are like homage covers, right? Feeding off of
Sure. Yeah.
George Perez with the Superman carrying Supergirl. What is that? Crisis on Infinite Earth cover that I'm sure you've seen 10,000 times. Yeah. So I mean, which one of those cover types do you see attracting?
So right now, the big you must be familiar with Mark Spears.
Mark Spears.
So he's been doing covers. He kind of came out. I think he started with Keen Spot. I'm not positive, but people love Mark Spears' work, and he paints. I'm assuming they're painted, but they might be digitally painted. But he's using more fluorescent colors on them, and his covers are selling like crazy right now. Again, I think it started out speculative, but people really enjoyed them and have been buying into it. But in general, I don't think there is a set style that resonates with everybody. So there's the good girl art fans. So like if you like J. Scott Campbell, Adam Hughes, Greg Land, those people will grab those covers. And then there are the painted cover fans. So the Alex Rosses, the Joe Juskos, people do love that work as well. But I don't think nothing ever seems to last. Like those Disney homage covers,
right.
Or gimmicky, as we would actually call them.
Right.
Sold spectacular in the beginning, but kind of like everything that the big companies in comic books do, they just burn it out. Like how, oh, you like that, so we're gonna force feed this to you until you pick the next thing you want.
Right. Got you. Or they do what is it? They give you an entire limited. They did a what if run, right, with all the Disney characters as doing Marvel stories, I think.
Yes. Yep.
Right. So I think they gave you a whole, So I think that's probably what wore everybody out. I could imagine it was just like.
And it's like so in the beginning with those Disney Marvel covers, like we were 100+ copies on every single one of them, and I think now we're down to like 5.
Right.
Like it seems to be the way the industry has gone is it's more covers and we'll keep shoving them to you till you change your mind and want something else.
Gotcha. Now, let me ask you a question. We all know, you've been in the game a long time. We've been in the game a long time. Dave Sim, Cerebus, Jeff Smith, Bone. There have been a few others. There's Terry Moore and his run of books, right? Because he doesn't have just one. have you seen anyone? Because I have this debate with my wife all the time. Is like, have we seen anyone come up like that in the last 10 years? Right?
In the last 10 years.
Yeah. Because, Dave Sim, that's 40 years ago.
Right.
Jeff Smith, at least 20, 25, 30 years at this point.
Yep. No, especially to have self-published and done it all on their own. Like that's a level of commitment and dedication, and eating lots of ramen when things aren't selling very well.
Yeah.
That's kind of the difference in the industry. It's like, do you want to present your idea and do it as long as you can to a conclusion? Because I think you could say that about Dave Sim and Terry Moore. Both have done that with their series, and Jeff Smith too. Or do you do you want the upfront paycheck working for Marvel and DC, even though your work will not be remembered the same way as these people's work? Or do you want to tough it out and tell your entire story?
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I haven't seen anyone come up like in the last 10 years doing that.
No.
It especially through the mainstream, because Dave Sim early on was, I think up to the point he lost his mind, he was selling up to 50,000 copies an issue, right?
Yeah, but you can also go back and look at like print runs of mainstream comics then versus where they are now, and I think you would just see a very significant difference in that, so that it was easier. When you're printing 40 or 50,000 copies of something, the price drops so far. But when you're trying to print 5,000 of a color floppy, you're going to lose money on that. Like, what is it? I think 7,500 might be the break even on a color comic.
Depends where you're printing it. This stuff that's coming, you can print it out of China, and it's fairly reasonable.
Until the tariffs hit.
Well, fortunately, there's no tariffs on printed products.
Oh, good. Okay.
So
I've been waiting for that one.
Yeah. I think it was I'm pretty sure it's the Koch brothers, or the Koch brother that's left. I don't know.
Okay.
That's a very wealthy billionaire. I don't know if you know about him, but he's very politically active. But he runs a lot of businesses that run through paper, and I'm pretty sure he used his influence to make sure that portion of it says, leave the tariffs off of my stuff.
All of us comic fans need to send him a thank you note. Pretty much,
yes. You were like, oh, thank you, guy. But yeah, despite all the other horrible things you've done, but
right.
So here it is. Like in the next, like, how do you see things shaking out? Because like you said, I know you're using Lunar and you're using Penguin Random House, you're using Diamond, right? Do you see this? Like, do you see any more turmoil going on?
I do think there will be more turmoil. I'm not sure how Diamond gets back in the game at this point. I don't know. I mean, financially, those numbers are so far beyond me in understanding what they were thinking when they bought the company or how they were going to monetize this. But on my end, I'm just watching publishers drop off from them, and how do you earn their trust back? I just can't imagine it. One of the problems I see in the industry right now is one of the things that Diamond was really good about was enforcing street dates, making sure that all retailers were dropping product at the same time. And it's kind of just become a free-for-all now. So we had a shop near us that if you get your books from Lunar, you might get them on a Friday with a Wednesday release date of the next week. We had shops just putting the books out the minute they came in the door. We've always had a very firm stance against breaking street date. So, we would do our due diligence and reach out to whichever publisher it was whose product was being dropped. Basically, nobody cared. Like, it was like, our job is to print the comic and get it to them.
Right.
We don't need to worry about that. Diamond was really good about enforcing that. And as ridiculous as it sounds up here in New Hampshire, if you're in New York City and you've got 6 shops within 8-10 blocks of each other, that becomes an issue.
Yeah, for sure. Well, in Manhattan is pretty much just Midtown. So
that's simple. I mean, nothing against Midtown.
Yeah,
but having a few other choices is always good.
Yeah. I mean, look, growing up as a kid, because I grew up uptown in Manhattan. I mean, we're talking about late 70s, early 80s. I had Super Snipe, East Side Comics, Batcave, and eventually Action Comics, all within a 5-block radius.
Wow.
Yeah. And then eventually, I think it was Action Comics won that war.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. But because Super Snipe went out of business because those guys, they didn't want to, I guess their landlord wanted to raise their rent and they didn't want to pay it, so they started their mail order. And then Batcave was run by a couple of weed heads they were only there on the weekends. No, not Batcave. East Side Comics was that. Batcave was an excellent store, though. That was a great store. Yeah, and Action Comics was also a very good store. But we had, I was very, very fortunate around 10, 11 years old to run into those stores. So, I mean, in your area, like, would you consider it highly competitive? Do you have a lot of other stores in your area?
There are a number of stores in New England, like probably within 40, 50-mile radius, there's got to be close to 12.5 stores.
Mm-hmm.
But we run, well, as professional as I can be, a very professional operation. In other words, it's not my staff or myself waking up in the morning and go, oh, I'll go in and open now. Like we're set with our hours. Like we treat it like a big box business in that, we want to be open. We're supposed to. Our store is well lit. It's clean. Mm-hmm. It's as organized as it could be, I guess. But there's a lot of shops that are just clubhouses. Like we sell. So, like, for instance, like our weekly buy of comics probably runs $4,500 to $6,000 at our cost. Right. Most shops around us are dealing in the $200 to $300 range. It's just not the same thing, but at the same time, they're I don't want to say I don't want to call them unprofessional, but just they're operating on a different level, so things are more lackadaisical. Things are, I won't say things slip through the cracks, but it's more like they can afford to build their business based on hanging out with their friends. Whereas we've just got a constant influx of people coming through. We try to spend as much time with everybody as we can, but we still have a line of customers that we need to deal with.
Right.
So like we try to keep that balance. But I can see the attraction of going to the smaller store where you just get to, dig through random back issues that boxes that have never been looked at.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I drove that way off topic.
No, that's fine. So I mean, all right, because you said, because this is something I find fascinating, right? Because you said you have something like 1,000 long boxes of books
at minimum.
At minimum,
1,000 boxes.
That's insane.
And this isn't, when I say unsorted, like I had a guy come in and go through maybe 200 of them, and he pulled out 6 copies of the first Harley Quinn, the Batman Adventures book. Mm-hmm. And he probably pulled out 25 copies of the first Deadpool. Like when I say unsorted, it's we have more product coming in the door to purchase than we have time to sort and deal with. And we just goes to the basement. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Right. Yeah,
I call it my retirement.
yeah, because that's what I was curious about. Is like, how much hidden treasure do you have down there?
Tons. We probably process 20 to 30 boxes a week. And every time I come in, my manager will be like, look at this first appearance. Look at this thing I just found. It's always something.
Right.
The only thing I will say, we definitely, when we get Silver Age in, we deal with it right away because there's just not enough Silver Age out there.
Right.
But when it comes to modern books, do what we can to get through them.
Right. So, I mean, now, are these just private collections you're buying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't have the time to like shop Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even travel to look at collections anymore because there has never been a time that I've driven to see a collection that has all these golden age books from the 1950s that it's actually ever panned out that it was something worth my time.
Mm.
So now it's like, you want to bring them by? I think we treat people as fair as we can. We try to pay top dollar, but again, if you bring me a box of 80s and 90s comics and there's not a New Mutants 98 in there, you might only get $25 for the long box. I can't make your comic books worth more than they are.
Right.
What about a box of Superman 75s?
We do get those up, put those up on our wall, and they're up to $10 a piece right now. We sell them pretty consistently, so that's better than it was 10 years ago, right?
Well, because the new movie's coming out, that's why I probably buy stuff.
Right.
The speculators are back on that again.
Yep.
Wait, so which book was that, Marvin? You said Superman what?
75.
Is that the bag? Is that the black bag?
Yes.
Oh, okay, got you. Yeah.
Oh, are they still in the bag or are they loose?
What was that? I missed that.
Are they still in the black bag or are they loose? Or are they loose from the bag?
The ones we're selling for $10 are still in the black bag. Still get the armband in there and everything.
Oh, how many of those you think survived not being cracked open?
Well, considering they probably printed 2 million, I bet there's at least 1.5 million, if not more.
Yeah. That's for sure. Jesus. You know what's funny? I never picked up a copy. And I would see them all over, back in the day. I always saw them all over. Even when I would catch them in dollar boxes, I'm like,
right. Because when you saw them, it was this much of them, right? In a dollar box. It was like, oh, that can't be worth $1.
Yeah. I mean, but it's, and what's funny is talking when I was mentioning Midtown, and let me tell you, Midtown's a great store, but we have like 4 of them. But I have the outlet. They have an outlet over here, and every weekend they have a different sale. So the sale this weekend is half off their dollar boxes. So they're 50-cent books. And even at 50 cents, I won't pick one up. So, yeah.
It'd have to be included with something else. So you buy this book, you get this one free. Would you take it for free?
Yeah, maybe. I'm sure.
I think that the funniest part about the Superman 75 and the death of Superman was what happened after the reign of the Superman and how it was.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The stories were terrible.
Yeah.
Yep. But it was, at the time it was cool. They were trying something new. I mean, that was like kind of legit, like, oh, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think the one thing they missed with that, and they also missed in the Snyderverse movies, is the Clark Kent factor. So Clark Kent is no longer around. Is Clark Kent dead? Is he still alive? Is he on assignment? Like, they just ignore that Clark Kent existed.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. True. So here's one for you, Ralph. Do signed books mean anything to the fans or to your customer, to your clientele base by what you see?
So when we have a store signing, it always works out great. People love to come to them. They love to meet the guys. But there was a time probably, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago when I would go out of my way to get books signed at conventions to bring back and resell. And there was a market for it. But I don't think people aren't that interested in it anymore. I mean, sure, if I could get Kevin Smith autographs, if it's someone that is famous outside of the comic industry and they have something to do with the comic industry, like that new Post Malone book. If I could get autographed Post Malone books, I'd be rich. I might not be rich, but I'd be doing pretty well.
Gotcha.
But other than that, I don't think people are that interested. I think people want to meet the creator, not necessarily just own a book that has a scribble on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of do that at shows. Whenever someone buys something and I say, "You want me to dirty it up for you?" and I go, "What do you mean dirty it up? You want me to write my name on it?" And some they'll be like, "Sure, go ahead." And other people are like, "Okay, you don't have to. It's all right. I'm not gonna snatch it out your hand and sign it and make you do it." So
right.
Gotcha. So here's one. Ralph, what advice would you give to your fellow retailers when it comes down to dealing with independent publishers?
I mean, I think for me, I came up with indie books. Like when I first discovered indie books, it just blew me away. I think my first indie book was either The Badger or it was American Flag. And I just discovered those, and then Star Reach magazine, and like all of a sudden it was like, this is not the same material. So it's easy to sell it if you enjoy it. So it's kind of like do what you love. So if you want to sell something, don't be trying to sell the latest Spider-Man book, because it's going to sell itself. Find the thing that you like that's different, that you can talk intelligently about to somebody. That's the easiest way to sell indie books, in my opinion.
All right, cool. Marvin?
Yes, sir.
What do you got?
So you get my my monthly ramblings, right? You're on that.
Yes, I do. Yep.
So you're agreeing they're rambling, so it's okay. So you saw the one about the local comic shop day. Is that something that you're going to put time into at all?
What's that? Is that, you said local comic shop day?
Yes.
Is that so local comic shop day has been weird for us. It's not as easy as free comic book day. Like free comic book day is such a spectacle for us. And local comic shop day has been a tough thing to get people to embrace, only because I don't know if they started it this way, but it really seems to push towards the speculator. Like, and I haven't looked at what this year they're doing. I have it up on my screen on my computer to go pay my $50 to participate. But in the past, it's been like there's only going to be 5,000 copies of this X-Men book that has been out. Did I miss something? Is there something different happening with it this year?
So it's a whole push to be more inclusive to those kind of things you're talking about, where they don't want the speculator market to kind of conquer that, because it's happened before. So they're kind of staving that off. They don't want anyone to do what they did. So what people were doing, limited publishers were doing, they were just reprinting things they had already printed before. So they're strictly asking for new items that no one's seen before, so that it kind of doesn't push into the speculators just popping up out of nowhere and grabbing up everything in sight, and then they're gone, and the people who want stuff don't ever get it.
Right. So if I mean, it's kind of, it sounds like they're going the free comic book day direction, in that a lot of publishers have been doing original material inexpensively. I mean, that is the big appeal, is if they put out a bunch of books that I could buy for 25 to 50 cents a piece that I could just give away on local comic shop day, I would be all over it. But if all they're going to do is print material that's new, but it's going to be regular price, I don't see what the draw is to get people to come in.
Right.
Like that just seems like New Comic Book Day, right?
Right. Well, I think that's kind of the plan, is that they're trying to kind of create a second New Comic Book. It's like there was like the speculation over the years of Christmas and like Christmas 2 in July.
Oh, right, which would be great. Yeah, right. And that's kind of what we need. I think Diamond was trying to do that with Halloween Comic Fest, but that never really, those weird little tiny comic books they published, like they were cute, but it didn't draw any extra people in for me either. So if they can make local comic shop day happen in more of a direction towards Free Comic Book Day, I see it being way more successful.
Right, and that's why this year they have a catalog. They're working with Patton Oswalt and another comedian. I don't remember the other guy's name.
Oh, right, I did. Yes, I remember seeing that. Yep.
So I mean, they're putting some effort out there. Don't see if it's going to shake the tree or not, but it's kind of good. It's good for us because we've been kind of not been able to be a part of New Comic Book Day. We are a part of Local Comic Shop Day with Comicsburg this year. So I mean that helps us to be more recognized in the market as not just a kind of fly by night publisher that pops up out of nowhere and then disappears.
Right.
But I mean, it's something. It's something that can help out along the way. Like I pumped it out to a few other indie publishers. I don't know if anyone else jumped on it with the opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's just something.
Yep, I did that years ago with Free Comic Book Day. I published for a little while, and Free Comic Book Day was great because we were, I mean, again, it's 15 years ago, so it was easy to get in on it. And having that recognition from Free Comic Book Day allowed us to not lose as much money as we were before it.
Right.
Cool. That's cool. All right, cool. Well, we've made it to an hour. So, Ralph, I want to ask you, do you have any questions for us? And if you don't, it's fine.
How long have you guys been doing this video podcast?
Well, okay. I've been podcasting, I think, since COVID, right? 2020.
Okay.
And then Marvin and I, we got down to talking about interviewing retailers, right? Because we would sit down every week with 4, 5, 6 independent publishers. We'll all be grousing and asking each other ridiculous questions. And eventually it came down to like, the retailers really think about us, and like how do they feel about the way the business is run, and how can we like what questions can we ask a retailer to help them sell our work?
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
You understand? Yep. So that's where this setting has come about, is because I'm really interested in, like, it's easy for me to say, yeah, I got my book, here's my book, sell it, guy, right?
Yep.
But it's very different when you ask a retailer, say, listen, what do I really need to do to help you sell my book?
Sure. Okay. Yep.
Right?
Makes sense.
So yeah. So that's where that's why I was saying when you were saying smaller books as opposed to a trade, keeping it within a reasonable price. Those things are very important because that's a track that we can follow.
Yep.
So that's why that's like, okay, I got it out of the horse's mouth, right? or at least one of them. So it's like and it's funny because I have a list of canned questions that I typically ask over and over again of the retailers, because we're trying to get that data, right? It is trying to confirm it between everybody. But yeah, that's I don't know, Marvin, I know you got anything to add to that.
Yeah. I mean, same thing, and it's good to get the confirmation on things of the communication, because each and every one of the retailers we talked to so far has said, yeah, I want to see a PDF. I want to see that product before I will go out and purchase it. And it was kind of the same thing as when you were saying it has to be professional, and it has to look like it can stand kind of not stand next to, but kind of still on the shelf next to X-Men, Avengers, and Captain America, and Batman, and things like that.
Yeah.
Because you want to draw eyes away from those other books and onto your book.
Yep.
So I just have one more question before we go. So let's say that you have a customer that was buying something like Justice League,
Okay.
and they're saying, "Oh, I don't like this book anymore." Would you push them towards an indie book that was similar in that vein, or would you push them more towards like another mainstream superhero title?
Well, I think I would have to understand more about what it was they didn't like about Justice League. Like, my problem with most mainstream comics is there's no conclusion, there's no definition. Like, you are just going to cycle these characters back to me another way. Nothing's going to happen to these characters that is going to matter in the end. You have an intellectual property that you want to capitalize on. And I don't feel that with indie publishers, that, like, not that they're not as vested in their property, but they will have characters that have consequences to them. And hopefully, if they're good at what they do, if that character dies, they'll create something else later on that will be as compelling. So I'm literally always trying to push my customers to indie books, because I want them to be able to read something that has a beginning, middle, and end. And when you get to the end, you're satisfied in some way, and you can feel that there was a conclusion to it.
Right.
And I know we do get that in mainstream comic books until X-Men #1 comes out again. Like, it's just this weird, never-ending cycle. And it's funny to have grown up with that. Like, that was what attracted me to comic books in the beginning, and now I'm like, that's not what I want anymore. I want more Brubaker and Phillips stuff. Like, I want more Criminal. Like, I want just a nitty-gritty hard story, and when I get to the end, I'm like, wow, that was great. Now give me some more like that, but don't give me those same people again.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, well, to add to that, I mean, as a kid, the two things that did it for me was Micronauts, because it came to an end eventually.
Yep.
Right? And James DeMatteis on Kraven's Last Hunt.
Oh,
right?
sure. Yep.
Right, where there's an ending, and it was just like, oh, okay. And when I was a kid, it was the first time.
Right. There was an ending, but not anymore.
Well, yeah. That is. Yeah,
it's so hard to go back to that stuff and still feel the same about it, knowing that there's something that they continued it one way or another.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go.
You know what's weird? I've never read a single manga in my life. I grew up watching Speed Racer. That was the closest I will ever come.
Yeah, Robotech, Speed Racer, Robotech.
And Robotech, yes.
If you ever wanted to read a short one, and if you ever get your hands on it, Domu, Katsuhiro Otomo, same guy who did Akira.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I take that back. I did read Akira because initially, the first time I read it, Eclipse was publishing it.
Right. Well, yes. Was Eclipse?
Was it Eclipse?
No. It was Marvel. It was their
the Epic line.
Epic. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. And Colors. It was in color.
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I'm
if
too
it was,
old.
yeah, it was from Epic. Yeah, it was probably in color at the time. But yeah. But Domu is very short, very compact story. A lot of fun.
All right, I'll check that out.
It's a little kid and an old man in an apartment complex, and they both have psychic powers, and they're going to war with one another.
Okay. All right, I will read that for sure.
Yeah, a lot of fun. All right, Ralph, man, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights. So please let everybody know where they can find you and your store.
Sure. Jetpack Comics, Rochester, New Hampshire, www.jetpackcomics.com. If you ever email, I'm probably the guy that answers it.
Nice. All right, Marvin, where can they find you?
As always, you can find me at The Edge Comic and at comicsburg.com. All the socials are there. Check me out.
All right, cool. I'm at theoswaldchronicles.com, talltalesonline.com, Twitter, Instagram, all those different places. Next Sunday, we'll be back with a new panel. And the Oswald Chronicles still running on Kickstarter, so go check it out. And thank you so much, everybody. It's been awesome. So thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Marvin. Everybody,
Thanks,
have a good
guys.
day. Thank you. Just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. Thank you.
Take care, guys.